Growing Up on a Farm in Kentucky. Stories by Stan Schmidt. Episode 5, Dad's Hard Work Part 2. Piglet Surgery and Home Renovations.
My dad would all of a sudden I'd realize, how did he know how to do that? We had one sow had I don't know how many, 8 or 10 piglets. And they weren't no more than about 8 or 10 inches tall, running around. And we had them in the barn that my dad himself had built, a huge barn. I'm like, how did he do that? And down below, he built it on top of these rock walls that were already there. They were actually just pig pens. And he used that as a foundation. And so we had these little piglets in a box stall down there in the straw, and one of them brushed up against a rusty nail that was sticking out of one of the boards in the stables, and it got a really bad cut, about 1.5 inches or 2 inches long and pretty deep right in its side. And Dad comes walking into the house carrying this piglet right into the kitchen. Puts it down on the kitchen table and says, "Hold this pig." And then he goes and asks my mom for one of her sewing needles. And she says, "What do you want that for?" And he said, "I'm not paying that vet to come out here to sew this pig up, and he'll die if I don't sew him up." So Mom gave him one of her biggest sewing needles, about 2.5 inches long, and he puts it in the fire on the stove. We had a propane stove. And he heats it up and takes his pliers out of his pocket. He always carried the pliers in his pocket, and a knife. Pulls out the pliers, bends it in kind of a semicircle, and he says, "Stan, watch this." And he gets my mom's thread and washed the pig a little bit and started sewing him up. Sewed him right up there on the table without any anesthetic or anything. And he said, "He'll be fine." And sure enough, that pig healed right up, and we had another pig to sew. So he never wasted anything. He knew how to fix a lot of things. As a matter of fact, we didn't have any bathroom in our house, no running water. And my dad dug a well, found water, built a pump house, put the pump in there, and we dug a ditch all the way about 500 yards up to our house and put in a plastic pipe in the ground, and he put a tank in our house. And the pump in the pump house filled the tank in our house, and then he ran water to the kitchen sink and to the little bathroom we had. And actually he built a pretty nice bathroom in what used to be the washroom where we stored the washing machine and washed the clothes. He turned that into a bathroom, and we had hot and cold running water, and he had done it all himself. And then we were told by the township a few years later that we had to have all the wastewater just ran out into the cow pasture, and we were told we had to have a septic system. My dad couldn't afford that, so he said, "Well, I got 5 sons." He gave us all pickaxes and spades and said, "Start digging." And then we dug a big hole and built a concrete septic tank. And then we hired somebody to dig the lateral lines. And so we put our whole septic system in, as well as our whole. And another thing he put in was all we had were stoves in our house, so he put in a furnace that he a used furnace that somebody threw out of their house that he got for nothing. And it was a big furnace, big coal furnace, and with big pipes and everything that ran to every room in the house. He installed all that himself. And we even had to dig a bigger room underneath the house in order to put the furnace in there. And we did all that. Dad did all that himself. In between milking cows twice a day and growing all the feed for 25 cows, 25 dairy cows and 25 support cows. We had about 50 cows, and he was busy. And half of our house was never finished. The whole upstairs was never finished. He finished the whole upstairs and put windows in it and doors and everything. And electricity, he wired it all. So I guess I really looked up to my dad to be able to do that while I was still running a farm. So,
How old were you when you got running water finally?
we were in high school. The way my dad put it off for years was Mother said, I want to have a bathroom in the house. We all had to go out to the outhouse. Even in the middle of the night, you had to run outside and go to the bathroom. And he would tell my mother, why would you want to bring that stuff into your house? He sounded like he was serious, like he didn't want people going to the bathroom in the house. That was just he made it sound like it would be a terrible thing to do, and that's how he put it off for a few years until he had the time and money to put a bathroom in the house, which he eventually did. So he was quite the dad, and my mom she cooked everything from scratch and saved money too on everything we did. We had a big garden, and she would go out and pull the beets and get the lettuce and cabbage and everything and cook it and clean it. We had eggs, chickens, butcher pigs, and every now and then we'd butcher a cow. And that's how they raised 6 kids with very little money. We sold our chicken eggs for 50 cents a dozen, and milk was about 50 cents a gallon, so they didn't have much money.